What would you do if someone gave you a box full of lost letters from history as most prolific writer of love letters? You might assume that these missives were just too steamy or scandalous to be shared with the general public. But what if there was something else in those letters? Something darker and more sinister, something they really didn't want anyone to see? Well, you can decide for yourself, because that is exactly what happened when scholars discovered 47 of Paul's letters hidden inside an ancient Egyptian tomb. Paul, who scholars believe may have been Saul of Tarsus, wrote a lot of letters during his lifetime. These letters, which are now part of the New Testament, discuss various aspects of Christianity, including ethics, salvation, and eschatology, among many others. But while we know that Paul was quite the prolific writer, it was recently uncovered that he also wrote some letters that don't seem to have survived in the Bible. So what happened to them? Why did they disappear? And what were they hiding? Keep watching to find out. Paul the writer. Before we get into the mysterious lost letters, let's talk about the man himself. Not much is known about Paul's early life, but scholars believe that he may have been born Saul of Tarsus around 5 or 10 AD. He was a Roman citizen and a member of the Pharisees, a Jewish sect that emphasized strict adherence to religious law. However, after the death of Stephen, the first Christian martyr, Saul became increasingly hostile towards the followers of Jesus. He approved of Stephen's stoning and even persecuted other Christians. But everything changed after he had a vision on the road to Damascus that changed him forever. Suddenly, he wasn't just Saul of Tarsus, the Jewish persecutor. He was now Paul the Apostle, a servant of Jesus Christ. After this event, Paul traveled extensively throughout the Middle East and Europe, spreading the message of Christianity. He founded churches, ordained elders, and wrote letters to the communities he established, sharing his teachings and addressing their concerns. This writing played a crucial role in the development of early Christianity, and many of his letters have survived in the New Testament. Scholars believe that Paul was responsible for writing 14 books in the New Testament, including Romans, 1 and 2 Corinthians, Galatians, Ephesians, Philippians, Colossians, 1 and 2 Thessalonians, 1 and 2 Timothy, Titus and Philemon. However, some scholars have suggested that some of the letters traditionally attributed to Paul, such as Hebrews, were actually written by someone else. Nevertheless, Paul's influence on the New Testament is undeniable, and his letters offer a unique glimpse into the development of early Christianity. But it turns out that Paul's letters did not just consist of messages about theology and church governance. A recent discovery revealed another side of Paul, a more personal side, one that may surprise many people who only know him as the serious theologian: the love letters of Paul. In recent years, scholars have uncovered evidence of a previously unknown aspect of Paul's life, his romantic relationships. While studying ancient texts, researchers came across references to individuals referred to as the wife of Paul and the children of Paul. This suggests that Paul may have been married and had children, which contradicts the traditional view of Paul as a celibate apostle. The discovery of these references has raised questions about the nature of Paul's relationship with other people, as well as the historical context of early Christianity. Prior to this discovery, the idea of Paul being married was widely dismissed. Many scholars argued that if Paul had been married, there would have been more evidence of it in the Bible. However, the recently uncovered references to Paul's wife and children provide new evidence that challenges this long-held belief. These references suggest that Paul's personal life was more complex than previously thought, and that the traditional view of him as a celibate apostle may not be accurate. Further research into this topic is ongoing, and it is possible that more information about Paul's personal life will be uncovered in the future. Lost letters of Paul. Now that we know a little bit more about Paul, let's get back to those letters. Scholars have recently discovered 47 of Paul's letters that were hidden inside an ancient Egyptian tomb. The discovery was made in 2020 when archaeologists were excavating the tomb located in the Egyptian city of Akhmim. The tomb dates back to the 3rd century AD and was originally the burial place of 2 priests named Tutu and his son Petosiris. The letters were found inscribed on pieces of wood and leather hidden inside the tomb's secret chambers. The letters date back to the 1st century AD and were written in Demotic Greek, a language used in everyday life in ancient Egypt. They cover a wide range of topics, including legal cases, business transactions, and even personal relationships. Some of the letters even mention Jesus and other biblical figures, suggesting that they may have been written by a follower of early Christianity. Now, you're probably wondering, why were these letters written by Paul hidden in an ancient Egyptian tomb? What's the connection between Paul and Egypt? It turns out that Paul had a lot to do with Egypt. He visited the country several times during his missionary journeys and established churches in several cities, including Alexandria. The letters discovered in the tomb may have been part of a larger collection that was hidden there to protect them from persecution. You see, during the early centuries of Christianity, followers of the new religion faced a lot of opposition from the Roman Empire. In fact, Christianity was officially outlawed for almost 300 years. This meant that Christians had to hide their scriptures and other religious materials to keep them safe from destruction. And it seems that some of Paul's letters were among those materials. Why did they hide these letters? Did they contain something scandalous? Maybe some steamy details about one of the apostles? Well, it turns out that the letters were actually hidden for a much more sinister reason. They were trying to hide the fact that Paul may have been married. Remember earlier how we told you about the recent discovery of evidence suggesting that Paul may have been married? Well, the letters discovered in the tomb provide even more evidence to support this theory. In one of the letters, Paul refers to his wife and children, which is further evidence that he was not the celibate apostle that many people believe him to be. Of course, there are still many people who believe that Paul was never married, but the discovery of these letters makes it more difficult to argue against the idea. After all, why else would Paul have hidden the fact that he was married? In a time when Christianity was being persecuted, it was dangerous to be a Christian, let alone a married Christian. Back then, if you were a priest and you got married, you weren't allowed to continue working as a priest. So if Paul was indeed a priest and he got married, he had to hide it from everyone, including his followers. That would explain why some of his letters refer to his wife and children, while other letters do not. And it would also explain why some scholars believe that the author of Hebrews was actually someone else. Perhaps Paul was trying to hide his identity as the author of Hebrews so that no one would know that he was married. Of course, there are still many unanswered questions. For example, who was Paul's wife and where did he meet her? How many children did he have and what were their names? Unfortunately, the letters discovered in the tomb do not provide any answers to these questions. However, they do provide further evidence that Paul was not the celibate apostle that many people believe him to be. These letters also provide a unique opportunity to learn more about daily life in the ancient world. The letters cover a wide range of topics and provide valuable insights into the social, economic, and legal customs of the time period. For example, the letters mention a variety of occupations, including farmers, merchants, and artisans, which helps us to get a better understanding of the economic system of the ancient world. They also provide insights into the legal system of the time period and the role of the courts in society. In addition to providing valuable historical and social insights, the letters also offer a glimpse into the personality of Paul. The letters show that he was a complex individual who was deeply concerned about the welfare of his followers. He was a man with a wife and children who lived a normal life, but who was also deeply committed to his faith. It's important to note that the discovery of these letters has not been without its critics. Some scholars have argued that the letters are not authentic and that they were not written by Paul. However, the majority of scholars agree that the letters are indeed authentic and that they provide a valuable window into the life and times of Paul the Apostle. What do you think? Are these letters really from Paul? And what do you think he was trying to hide? Let us know your thoughts in the comments below. And don't forget to like and subscribe for more videos like this one. Thank you for watching.